This time we find ourselves swanning around rural England, and more specifically we're in the Suffolk area of East Anglia, away from the major cities, out in the beautiful countryside where all the history is. The final place we'll be visiting will be Colchester, the ancient capital of England. But of course that's in Essex, but still in East Anglia. And here we are, swanning around in the historic English town of Lavenham. No, I think they call it Lavenham. But it's a medieval town, more than 1,000 years old. And we're just going to walk around and see the sights. What better place to start than the dead centre of town? People have been dying to come here. Most of the very old gravestones are that old that you can no longer read them. And some of the ones that you can read, as difficult as it might be, quite puzzling. This is a tombstone of Elizabeth and William Turner. It says, who fell asleep in 1893. So might have been a bit dangerous back in those days to fall asleep. You have to make sure someone didn't cart you away. And here we have Betsy Turner, another Turner, who fell asleep in November 1883. Also, Susan Smith, who fell asleep in 1893. They're daughters of William and Mary Bulmer. So, sisters, the Turner sisters. Well, no. Betsy Turner was married to somebody named Turner. Susan was married to someone named Smith. And William and Mary was their parents. Lavenham in its history was a very rich town. Some of the families in this area made a lot of money out of wool and a cloth that they used to weave here. And apparently Henry VIII came along and fined a bunch of people for displaying too much wealth. But that's why the church here of St. Peter and Paul is one of the biggest churches because of the wealth that was going on at the time of when it was built. So for such a small town, it's quite a magnificent church. And that's it. We've looked very, very carefully all through the beautiful church of St. Peter and St. Paul. Now we can go along and see what we can find elsewhere in Lavenham. So Lavenham, being so old and obviously now protected, so it's not likely to change, it's just full of beautiful old cottages, beautiful old homes. And then you've got some people who've got the most amazing yards. There's some amazing homes with some amazing yards, or gardens as they like to call them here. This place has got its own lake and sculptures. And I think the reason there might be sculptures here is because the lady that owns this, she's got a sign out the front. She also is an artist and she'll sell things to you. Might be worth buying something just to go and have a look at her home. It's a bit of a pity that the cars, well, I guess you have to park your car somewhere, but it sort of detracts from the look of the village. You can tell the really old buildings because the walls aren't straight. They obviously didn't really care about making things straight, or they didn't have the ability to make things straight back in the day, but they're still here, so it's not like they're warped and flimsy. They're warped and permanent. Look at this, what a neighbourhood, what an amazing neighbourhood. And it looks like up here that we've got some people are into the Halloween spirit, being October and all. Look at the house that's in. Look at that. These are Tudor style homes. These are, well, buildings. So yeah, this is before the 1600s. These buildings. It's amazing.
Help us grow, like, share and subscribe.
When I say wonky walls, I don't know if it'll pick up, but boy oh boy, that one's really wonky as we head up Market Lane. Wow. It would be so cute to live in a village like this. Because back in the day, when people said next door, they really did mean next door. More Tudor buildings with wonky walls. Opening out into the square. Angel Hotel on the other side. Tea rooms. Look at this village, it's so gorgeous. Wow, oh boy. Got some restoration work going on there. The Hovis. That's an ancient monument. It's called the Market Cross. It's a scheduled ancient monument. And there's a sign behind me just asking people not to crawl on it because that might fall on them. And that would be a bit of a shame, seeing it's probably been there for, well, who knows, close to 1,000 years. And this is Toll Cottage in the middle of the market square. We got the Great House. Looks like a pub. Angel Hotel over there. It's quite busy, the Great House. There's a lot of people in there. Little Hall beside it. A little hall, house and garden. It's a fine example of a 14th century medieval home. That's 1300 and something. And this is the tea room in the Gould Hall of Corpus Christi. It's obviously being repainted at the moment. And this little shop here has the rather unfortunate name of Elizabeth Gash. Anyway, so as the sun drops down, not that you can see because it's always behind a cloud, but as evening draws near, it's time for us to move on and freshen up for the next day for our next adventure. And as we leave, we thought we'd go swannying around at the Swan. And today we're in a village called Long Melford. Now, that beautiful building there is an old schoolhouse. It only stopped being used as a schoolhouse in 2002. Not sure what the building's used for now, but there are a number of interesting buildings here, least of which is not this one. And look at that, completely walled. A massive big building. From a distance we just assumed it was a church, but I'm going to predict it's got something to do with the mill that is on the river bank. And of course the mills used to use the flowing water to push a water wheel, and the water wheel would crush the wheat into flour, and I'd say it probably created some wealth, and this may well be connected to that. So this is the gates of that huge big building, that complex, and I can see through the gate a sign up, National Trust. So I'm assuming it's public land. See people look like they're going for a bit of a walk, so that's what we're going to do. And straight away we've learnt that this magnificent building is called Melford Hall. The gardens are lovely, well maintained. Don't know what it is yet. I mean, obviously it's Melford Hall, but we don't know the history of it yet. Hopefully we'll find out. Beautiful big towers there, watchtowers. Well, actually we may not find out much about it. A woman just jumped off a ride-on mower and ran up to Elena, who took off ahead of me, and yelled out to her, "No, we're closed today, you can't be here, we're closed today." So apparently Mondays are not days that you would be open, so we won't be finding out anything about the place at all. And so that's Melford Hall, the closed Melford Hall, owned by the National Trust. You just have to be lucky on what day you come as to whether you can go and have a look at it. Another beautiful old village filled with beautiful old homes, beautiful old buildings, and beautiful old signs. Long Melford signs. I've quickly learned that the basic rule is the wonkier the walls, the older the building. Because this one here is Tudor style, which I can't really date things, but I believe that the Tudors were around the 1600s. So there's a swan everywhere. Everyone's swanning around. This is the Long Melford swan. There's not too many places open today. We're walking around on a Monday, and because they're partially open on Sunday, most businesses seem to be taking Mondays off. But the Cock and Bell is definitely open. More crooked Tudor homes. Or businesses? No, homes. They're homes. Really like that little white one, the Chestnut Cottage. The only thing is, the door is about 5'8" high, so I'd be ducking quite a bit to get in there. But we found a business that's open, a local antique shop. The Lime Cottage has an interesting door knocker. Swanning Around door knocker. And this is the place to buy beautiful quality timber furniture. Oh boy. Man, oh man, if I could get this stuff back home, I'd fill my house with it. Absolutely gorgeous. Well, it's a beautiful old village. It's quite large too. All the different wonderful old cottages all put together. I think we've really enjoyed Long Melford. But as the sun's starting to go down, we're going to have to think of moving on to our next location. So today we are swannying around Colchester, England. And that's St Botolov's, Botolphh, Botolov's Church. It's a Church of England. But there's older stuff here. Now I can only presume that this is older, as this current state of disrepair. Don't quite know what it is, just like I don't know what that man's beard's all about. This is a graveyard area. It was in continuous use till 1648, when that building was clearly mortally damaged in the English Civil War. So, not unusual for England to have a number of very old graves. That one there is a Mr. Hawkins vault. And this is the St Botolov's Priory, or rather, what's left of it. So, St Botolov's Priory. Priory is a monastery. But I was just thinking here, with Botolov as a name, in modern times, if the descendant's daughter of Botolov married a man named Beer, that would make her Mrs. Bottle of Beer. We're really in the old part of town now, the old buildings. Well, we thought to take the opportunity to have fish and chips in Colchester. How's it taste, babe?
Which one?
Oh, good. Now we can sit out here and watch life go by. So there's a sign over there that says, "Welcome to Castle Park." Now, Castle Park, you might ask. Why does it get that name? Well, there's the reason. There's Colchester Castle. In memory of the victims of the Essex witch hunts, who were imprisoned in the Colchester Castle in the 16th and 17th centuries, over 200 women and men were held in cells of Colchester Castle on charges of witchcraft. Many died while awaiting their trial. Much of the evidence was based on superstition, ignorance and hysteria. Another English grave of sorts. This is where James Parnell, a Quaker, was imprisoned here and died in 1656 for his faith. He was only aged 19. Well, 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 what's the castle well? So this is a cauldron that was found here. It was made in around 1275 to 1140 BC. Now, we know that they had an issue with witches here, and maybe cauldrons had something to do with that. For 600 years these cells were used for witches, murderers, heretics, and unfortunately lots of loud audio-visual torture. Or I'm not sure if that was the torture they used back then, but Sounds like the torture you suffer now.
Of your familiars. I won't let them plague you for telling. God will protect you.
This is where I'll end our Colchester visit, in the deep dark depths of the prison cells. We'll move on to somewhere new. So this is where we stayed, in the Holts and Holt Road, Little Hawkesley. In front of that manor is all Georgian period, and George was before Queen Victoria. It does have grounds. We'll look around. Up through there is the tennis court area. Behind, all fields. And then we've got over there more grounds and even more grounds. So as I say, that front area that we're looking at there is all Georgian. And we'll go through up the side here. Pebble driveway. Because the rear of the house is the old part. The Georgian part's the new part. So that's the part that they've built before Queen Victoria. But this back part here, starting from there, is medieval. So the medieval period is from 500 to 1500. So not exactly sure where, but when it was built, but that's the range. So it could easily be 1,000 years old, this part of the building. And of course the sunroom I think is much younger than that. That's the thing that English people like to have now, to sit there and absorb the sun rays and try and extend the nice weather in that way.